President Bola Tinubu will remain the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the next 4 years. He has up to 2027 before he might have to come back if he wants to, for the second time, and that will be subject to the party primaries selecting him again. This was done by the 7-member court ruled, which was on Thursday, against the opposition challenges of the fraud and the electoral breach during the election. I'm going to be telling you the reaction from the president itself, but for now, there has been a lot of Nigerians that have, just as usually, on the social media, it has been, so much Twitter space, conversation. But I can confirm to you, after a few days from when that Supreme Court judgment happened, it seems that continuation of the government would definitely have to be accepted or not accepted. But whatever your position, whatever your views, it seems that Bola Tinubu will remain the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the next 4 years.
Well, it's quite interesting. But what has been the reaction from various quarters? You were saying that it seems people have been quiet, but the question is, what has been, how did they react to the Supreme Court ruling? Because especially when Atiku, somebody like Atiku, went all the way to the courts in the U.S., especially the Chicago University, and got those certificates, which showed that the president has a forged certificate, okay? And they thought that they could table it as evidence so that it stops whatever that is going on. And the Supreme Court seemed to say that, well, they were too late to have submitted it, and therefore because time has elapsed. So what has been the reaction from his quarters?
Well, the first thing is, according to the Supreme Court Judge John Okoro, says there is no merit in this appeal and it is hereby dismissed. The question we should ask is, was there ever a merit, in any case in Nigeria, or should we say that, maybe what Atiku and Peter Obi tried to push after the election should have taken place before the election? You should have pushed the effort of bringing some of these, crime or atrocity as allegations or not allegation against Bola Tinubu, knowing fully well that Bola Tinubu has been nominated under the APC primaries. What we would have expected, from some quarters is that they should have come out with all this evidence just to stop him before the election. But like you said, the reaction has been, very, very on a different note. I've listened to different Twitter space. I've listened to, I've read a lot of analysis. I've read so much. But like I said, maybe we should just go back to what Atiku said in this particular clip that I have for us. 1 minute.
It is about our country, Nigeria, in the future. It is about the kind of society we want to live for the next generation and what kind of example we want to set for our children and their children. It is about the reputation of Nigeria and Nigerians in the eyes of the world. We showed incontrovertible evidence that Bola Tinubu was not qualified to contest the presidential election.
The question is, if Atiku knew that he was not qualified based on the evidence that he has presented at the last minute to the Supreme Court, maybe this evidence should have come up just in time before the February election itself. But like I said, this is a new video coming out, and I believe Atiku is probably addressing the media briefing. So what you're listening to right there, and let's listen to the last 3 more seconds of that video clip that is just coming from Abuja while we are still on air right now.
Because he forged the qualifying academic certificate which he submitted to INEC. In fact, a simple check on Tinubu's past records in his possession would have shown INEC that Tinubu broke the law and should not have been allowed to contest the election in the first place.
So I'm going to come back again to you in the studio. You had him there. Tinubu should not have been allowed to contest. According to some information that I gathered as well, while Atiku was the vice president of Nigeria during Obasanjo, the former president, It seems that Atiku had these dossier of information on his desk as at the time, but he refused to act on it by allowing the president then, Obasanjo, to work on that file, but he wanted to use the same file, but it seems the Supreme Court have thrown that away, and the Supreme Court says, and I quote, that there is no merit in what Atiku and Peter Obi brought on the table.
Okay, this is Starr Radio UK. Mr. Olayomi Koiki in our North London studios, bringing us updates from Nigeria. We apologize for not giving you a live image there, but at least you can have the voice, and the technical team are working on it, and as and when we have the chance to get him back on, we will do so. If not, then hopefully tomorrow, once he comes on, I think it will be taken along very, very nicely. So thank you very much. But let's move on. Let's move on from there. What has been Peter Obi's reaction as well?
If I'm right, I believe Peter Obi is back again in London. From information I gathered, he was probably somewhere in Cambridge. Again, Peter Obi wanted to be the president, and yes, you're right. I am right, quite rather. Peter Obi was addressing, I'm not sure what the whole thing was all about, but according to what I have here, Peter Obi was at Oxford University yesterday, where he sat down for Q&A. Maybe we should just speak a little bit from what he was discussing, and I'm going to come back again to you in the studio, Mr. Archie.
If you go around, British people keep their money in British pounds. Italians, there was no euro then. Italians keep their money in lira, even when the rate is almost any rate. Chinese in Chinese yuan. Singaporeans in Singaporean dollar. Malaysians in ringgits. Germans in Dutchman. And why around as well? Because you don't have faith in your country, you prefer other countries' currency.
Well, that was, Peter Obi right there at Oxford University yesterday here in London, or probably maybe on Saturday, talking up, because it's about, that's about 21 hours ago. So you're looking at about almost 24 hours, which would have been on a Saturday where he was having some engagement here in London. But like I said, this is what some Nigerians have turned the whole Supreme Court judgment to. You might want to laugh about this. Let's listen to this.
After Supreme Court's judgment yesterday, everywhere quiet. I was expecting to be hearing, obedient, I told you. Everybody quiet. Shake it, don't touch everybody.
So you can see that as much as many Nigerians, and there's another video from another young Nigerian woman that says it seems that hunger did not even allow both the winner and the non-winner to celebrate this new result that has now confirmed Tinubu as the president.
Wow, interesting one there. But what has the camp of Tinubu also done to get into this as well?
Well, going back to Tinubu, moving Nigerian forward, receiving a briefing from the SGF Akumi at the State House, all hands must be on deck in the great task of positioning our dear nation for progress. And I heard you speaking before I came on board. You're quite right. The first, or probably maybe not the first, but the German Chancellor, as Chancellor Olaf Osko, has now arrived in Nigeria. And it seems as many, business investors, you remember that the European Union are looking for, scrambled Africa where they can, get as much out of Africa. But it seems that the president says today now marked a significant step forward in Nigerian-German relation with the visit of the Chancellor Olaf, reinforcing our shared commitment to mutual growth and prosperity. During our bilateral discussion, we exchanged views on the pressing global issues. It seems that, Nigeria has welcomed the Chancellor. But the question many Nigerians say is, do we get continuation? Remember that we had the previous ministers, visit Germany for so many opportunities that would have brought 24 hours electricity to Nigeria. But it seems maybe this government is trying to assure, not the assurance for Buhari, or the one from the video, but we are talking about an assurance that Nigeria is now ready for business and sustainability, sustainable development, agriculture, digital economy, transportation, and the most important that can survive all these is to make sure that we have the energy. German has what it takes. They have the expertise, they have what it takes, but is this government ready to make sure that the next 4 years we can bring in all these, according to the president telling the German delegation on the sideline of the visit? They've both met during the G20, which would have been the closest between the president, but this is a state visit, and I'll be giving more later on tomorrow in what we're going to be some of the MOU that will be signed in the next 24 hours.
Well, listeners, it is Starr Radio. Olayomi Koiki and North London studios. I'm actually here in the South studios and bringing you updates from Nigeria. It's now 11:32. Let's quickly move on to some of the other stories, because there are lots of reactions coming from this Supreme Court ruling, and some prophets are saying that there's going to be demonstrations of anything of the sort. But we'll be telling you more about that tomorrow, God willing, once we come on. But Yomi, let's move on to one other story. Was it Friday? A court ruled again in favor of Nnamdi
Kanu.
Nnamdi Kanu, yes. Now, what has been the reaction of the DSS? Have they said that they're going to, release him, or what? What has happened?
Well, let's first take you back to June last year on why Nnamdi Kanu's case matters to every British citizen. Remember that Nnamdi Kanu has denounced his Nigerian passport, but we know that the former president Muhammadu Buhari, just as he did try to kidnap Umaru Dikko in London in 1980, was able to facilitate the kidnap of Nnamdi Kanu through some of the corrupt organization that was surrounding Nnamdi Kanu. They're known as DOS, and some other element of individuals that worked and facilitated that. Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped, rendition back to Nigeria, and it's now almost 3 years. He's still in the captivity of the DSS. I'm going by what his legal team here, Biden Man, says in June last year, and I'm going to read quickly on that, and then I'm going to come back to the real the latest update of what has been coming out from the Enugu court, saying that IPOB is not a terrorist organization. It was the former president that decided that he will call them a terrorist organization. There's also the Igbo leader saying, I've picked that headline this morning, saying that they're working towards what can lead to the release of Nnamdi Kanu. According to the Office of the National Statistics, UK residents make around 19.9 million visits abroad each year. Most of these residents will be British citizens with passport, declaring to the authorities of other states that the Queen, or now the new King, requests and require all those whom it may concern to allow the bearer to pass freely without let or hindrances, to afford the bearer such assistance and protection as may be necessary. But most will assume that if they are denied such assistance and protection abroad and was still as seriously harmed, then the UK government will step in to assist them. The UK government has literally failed when it comes to the case of Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu case, which is awaiting a hearing in the Court of Appeal, last year, is set to put each of these assumptions to test. That is because if the High Court was right to reject his family judicial review claim earlier this year, the UK government has what amount to a right to remain indifferent and passive. Who has the right when you have a British passport? Is it when you have a British passport and your views are different from the British government, you are not likely to get a support from the British government? Or if you are probably, not a colored person, you might probably get a kind of support. Let's go back to Enugu State and what is coming out from there as well. We don't know what is going to be the reaction here from the new government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but the court in Southeast have now asked that the federal government must apologize to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and probably pay him 8 billion for right to violation. What is the right? A court sitting in Enugu on Thursday last week asked the Nigerian federal government and the Southeast governors to pay the sum of 8 billion naira to the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The court also mandated the respondent to apologize to Kanu for the infringement of his fundamental human right, order the respondent jointly or severally to issue office of apology to the applicant for the infringement, which is fundamental right, but it seems that we would have to wait to the reaction from the AGF. I know we should have been at the court because the Zenis at the court today will probably catch up because it's still going to be a long case. But what I can confirm is it seems that the new AGF wants to get the Zeni back to Nigeria. But the question is, what is the new AGF doing when it comes to the case of Inam Nnamdi Kanu? Also, the ruling was sequel to a suit brought before the court by the IPOB team leader in 2017 for the proscription of IPOB as a terrorist organization. Justice A.O. Onovo, while also delivering the judgment on the suit marked E20-2023, declared the practical application of Terrorism Prevention Act and the executive of administrative action of the respondent of the Southeast Governor Forum and the federal government, which directly led to the proscription of IPOB and listing it as a terrorist organization, was unconstitutional. The question then is, was it a deliberate thing from the northern part of Nigeria that Buhari come from? Remember that he said a couple of things on Twitter which was removed, reminding those from the southeast of how they were dealt with during the Civil War. He was suspended for 6 months on Twitter. There was a backlash, but it seems that both the AGF Malami and Buhari have left the government. Now Tinubu would have to review every case, just like the case of Inam Nnamdi Kanu kidnap rendition back to Nigeria by the former president Muhammadu Buhari.
Well, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I bring the time now to 11:38. We know our time is fast spent, so we'll go back to you, Yomi, for the rest of the stories making the rounds. Over to you, Yomi.
Nigeria's economy is still crawling. I would transform it. That is coming from the headline from President Bola Tinubu. As much as the dollar continued to be over 1,300 this morning, the pounds is going up to 1,570. Many Nigerians are asking the question, how soon would Nigeria get that kind of transformation? But Bola Tinubu says his administration had improved the nation business environment, saying we are going through several reforms, and that means that many people will have to wait. He was actually saying this during the bilateral meeting, like I said earlier, with the German Chancellor and his entourage in the presidential villa. The former president, Goodluck Jonathan, was also at the presidential villa. He was asked the reason why. He says he was just delivering some of his work that he's doing when it comes to Africa as well. Also, there's a lot happening in the southeast again this morning. There's a fire, there's tear gassing. I've seen some of the videos, and that is because the embattled governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, has declared that he has done nothing to warrant impeachment by the State House of Assembly. It seems that politics in Nigeria, just like in other African countries, is like a real cabal. Fubara said this on Monday while addressing his supporter at the Assembly complex shortly after the House members, led by their Speaker Martin, convened to begin impeachment process against him. What I think is playing out there again is it seems from information being gathered, the former governor Nelson Wike is no longer the governor, but it seems that his hand is still full of cop right inside the Rivers State. Let's come out and tell Rivers people the offense I have committed to warrant any impeachment, the governor said. It's not just in Imo State. Remember that even Ondo State in the southwest of Nigeria, the governor is currently operating from Ibadan, which is not his own state. You remember that he was far away in Germany for over 3 months on medical leave. Many Nigerians will love the same opportunity when they couldn't fix some of the hospitals. He's also operating from Ibadan, where his health continues to deteriorate. And the question is, why do African politicians want to die when they can easily leave the seat for somebody else? So that is a lot of coming from the Rivers State. Supreme Court legalized forgery and illegality. That is coming from Atiku. We had a bit of that from what Atiku was saying in Abuja earlier. According to the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate in the February 2023 election, Atiku Abubakar said with his decision to uphold the election of President Bola Tinubu, the Supreme Court legalized forgery and also illegality. Atiku said this at the ongoing press conference and also said, someone asked me what I would do if I lost my election petition appeal at the Supreme Court. In response, I said that as long as Nigerian wins, the struggle would have been worldwide. By that, I mean that the bigger loss will not be mine, but Nigerians, if the Supreme Court legitimizes illegality, including forgery, identity theft, and also perjury, as it has been done. If the Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, implies that crime is good and should be rewarded, then Nigeria is lost. I am sure that history will vindicate me. Well, that is coming from Atiku there at 11:42. Falana, commissioner warned lawyers against punishing landlord, is coming from the other headline as well. Importers return to parallel market as the Naira rebounds, is coming from one of the headline as well. We take two more from one of those headlines and then go straight to what is happening on the social media. What, do we trust the Nigerian Labour Congress? Maybe not, maybe yes, but it seems that the NLC to embark on a mass protest in Imo alleges the right violation by Hope Uzodinma government. This is to demonstrate our outrage and stop the continual violation of the right and privilege of workers in the state, says the NLC president. Remember that they've said that they will be waiting again to see if this government will add more to the salary of Nigerians civil workers. So we're going to have to wait to see what's going to happen between the federal government and also the NLC. Well, court has adjourned Naira Marley cybercrime trial. Is not just facing the trial that the death of Mohbad, which is still ongoing on the social media. It seems that Naira Marley also has another trial for cybercrime. According to Justice Nicholas Ohibo, has adjourned the case following the defendant absent from the court. Remember, Naira Marley is still being detained, and also Samilari. According to the Lagos Division of the Federal High Court on Monday, has further adjourned until November the 13th and 30, the continuation of the trial of the Nigerian singer Aziz Fashola, aka Naira Marley, charged with cybercrime. Justice Nicholas adjourned the case following the defendant absent from the court. The police in Lagos have detained Naira Marley and his associate Sam Larry in connection with the death of the Nigerian artist Oladimeji Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad. When the case was called on Monday, Olalekan Ojo, SCN, informed the court that the defendant was still clearly absent from his trial despite the court order for his production. In response, the prosecutor told the court that although she had prayed the court for a production warrant of the defendant, it was still absent. Very lawless country, as you can tell right there. Well, Sanwo-Olu was at the wrong way, also promoting what we can call fashion in Lagos. Lagos inaugurates 2 agro-processing centers in Ikorodu, is coming from one of the headlines, as we know that farming is very, very important, but the question is, how do you transform those produce? We talked about so many times. You remember when I was in Nigeria a few years back with Captain John. As we speak today, 5,000 containers still leave the offshore of Nigeria as empty because there's nothing going inside, and that literally means that that is not bringing back any forex. I'm going to come back again to you in the studio, and right there we will then start talking about what is trending on the social media on Monday, the 30th of October 2023 at 11:45 a.m. on the Starr Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Yes, listeners, Mr. Olayomi Koiki in North London studios. I'm actually here in the South studios, and we're bringing you updates from Nigeria. Now, it's quite interesting, all the development that is going on there in Nigeria. But let me say good morning to Anthony Adedeji there. Thanks for joining us as well. And we apologize for those of you who like joining us on the YouTube channel. There's been a bit of an issue there. We're going to be sorting it out later on. We're going to transfer the whole thing to a different channel, the Starr Radio UK one, not the Starr Radio UK channel. Okay, we will let you know about that. God willing, tomorrow it should be up and running. Okay, so someone was asking about Nnamdi Kanu's issue once again, and asking what has been the reaction from the DSS itself. Are they going to adhere to the rules?
Well, the DSS will probably at some point have to, subject to, remember that the federal government itself has, to say something. For the DSS is a very lawless department, doesn't listen to the rule of law. So, but I'm sure should the president himself give the order, then the DSS will have no other option. The question is, remember that the former EFCC chairman has been released after
Okay.
Barua, after a few days with the DSS. Abdul Rashid Barua, the fourth executive chairman of the FCC, was appointed by Buhari in February 2021. Confirmed in February 2021, he was suspended from office on June 14. He has sent to the exact office. So we hope that the new president would also be intervening rather when it comes to the case of Inam Nnamdi Kanu anytime soon. I know that from indication and what we are hearing, the president might probably wants to look into that, especially just to put a little bit of release of pressure from the Southeast, especially those that are campaigning, for the right to self-determination. Well, if the chairman Barua has been released after 100 days, the question is, if the court has literally said Inam Nnamdi Kanu hasn't committed, his case has literally been, subject to a lot of inhumane, and you've heard it there from what I read earlier, when his right has been violated. So we will have to wait a little bit further to the reaction from the federal government and the new AGF.
Well, it's going to be interesting because the question is, when the Supreme Court ruled, a court rules that, well, somebody should be the substantive president, we say, okay, when the court rules, another court rules that, well, somebody has been, his rights have been infringed upon and should be compensated, then we say we don't want that. But we say, you know what? This is a rule of law. We all have to abide by it. We can listen to us this morning. What do you think about that?
And if I go back again 72 hours, from today, 72 hours earlier, the Southern and the Middle Belt leader says, start process of restructuring Nigeria back to the regionalism. Release Inam Nnamdi Kanu, says the Southern Middle Belt Leaders Forum to Tinubu. The leaders also call for the immediate release of Inam Nnamdi Kanu, the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, insisting that the government and the security agencies must obey the court orders in the country. A country where security agency and all these lawless, security outlets, in Nigeria doesn't obey the court, then it seems that you might as well say Nigeria is a banana country.
Is it a banana state or not? Listen, this is Starr in the UK. 11:49 the time. It's Olayomi Koiki in Inam Nnamdi studios. I'm Archie here in this main studios, and we are bringing you updates from Nigeria. We'll go back to Yomi. All the rest of the stories making the rounds, those on the social media, etc.
Well, and that is coming from Lagos State. Nigerian senators are looking to buy 160 million vehicles. Some of them are going to get Land Cruiser, while the other get a Land Cruiser as 160 million, Prado at 80 million. One of the senators was interviewed, and he couldn't even justify why they are not buying made in Nigeria. All I could hear is, made in Nigeria is not suitable for the Nigerian roads, and they are not even tested and trusted. But this is coming from the social media this morning. Video from the youth protest in Lagos against SUV allocation to lawmakers. Let's see what they are saying.
What Archie are they facing? Yes, so what hard work are they doing? Nothing. What exactly is their job? Particularly they are doing nothing. Nigerians who are toiling day and night. Today is Monday. Yes, so Nigerians look at them. Today they are hospitals. Nigerians are in several work.
Well, you can hear me there. You can hear him there. That is the ongoing protest right in Lagos State. So let's tell you some of what is trending. It seems that Atiku Abubakar has just picked up the trending impeachment, and that is linking to what is happening in Rivers State. Rotimi Amechi is trending, and this is why it's trending.
Benefit of your death by taking this. What other people resist, like in Ghana, as is going on now, like in Kenya, is what I just not before years. After 4 years, he will go. The man wins the second time, whether by magic or by crook or by reason. Not only 8 years. No people don't get it. No people don't go so. No people don't go so. He goes soon go. Another person will come and repeat the same thing. You'll be saying that until the day God will come. For those of us who are Christians. So I have chosen to be like you, say nothing here.
Well, you can imagine, he was a former minister of transportation. Under his belt, the kidnap and the killing of the young Dr. Chinelo when the train attack occurred. He also said that he told Buhari that there will be an attack, yet nothing was done. And this Andu says, just listen to Rotimi Amechi and cry. Nigerian politicians really understand the stupidity of those that refer to themselves as Nigerian. Listen to the former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi. And again, David Odoye, an investigative journalist. Remember, we talked about him. He has, immunity in Ghana, even though the current administration is trying to get that out of his hands so that they can, return him back to Nigeria. He did run out of Nigeria after the NSAS. He also says, if there was a message from someone that will make me deeply upset and sit in silence for hours, completing my life choice, I didn't think that someone would be Rotimi Amechi. But this video is a living rent-free inside my head. The question again is, what is new to say Nigerians don't react to anything? Has any politician told you he's not a thief? Which politician told you he went to university? Which politician told you she served in the NYSC? Which politician told you he has a certificate? And that is also coming from Rotimi Amechi there. So Rotimi Amechi is trending this morning. And again, coming back there, Gbajabiamila is trending. And as also, I'm not sure why Ambode is trending. Ambode was the former governor of Lagos State. But it seems that Ambode seems to be picking up this morning. Not too sure why, but we'll probably find out. But again, as usual, Nigerians have just gone quiet after the whole election. There's also a very worrying news coming from Abia State. Over 80 bodies recovered around Uchuchi Cattle Market in Abia State. And again, breaking news: President Bola Tinubu renewed confidence in his chief of staff, Femi Gbajabiamila. I'm not sure why he's renewing his confidence, but we do know that Femi Gbajabiamila took money that was meant for a client in America, run away back to Nigeria, run into politics. He returned the money back, but he's now been served not to practice anymore in America. Remember, we talked about this and you said, I'm not sure he wants to practice in America anyway. And there's a lot of rumor out there. We can't confirm that he's been getting paid for certain posts for people, but it seems that Tinubu says he's still someone I can trust. And this is coming from the NTA, which is the Nigerian Television Authority. You can confirm that Femi Gbajabiamila has the confidence of the president. And that is how far we can go this morning. I'm going to come back again to you in the studio, Mr. Archie.
Okay, Yomi. Let me say thank you very, very much, because there's a lot that we want to talk about. But God willing, you will see Yomi live on their program tomorrow. We apologize for the sincere technicalities that are taking place, and therefore you cannot see him. Yomi, let me say thank you very much and have a lovely day. We'll catch up later.
Have a very good morning, Mr. Archie. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Well.
All right, I'm going to close the broadcast. I'm going to come back for a proper broadcast when we can discuss our own Yoruba nation. Once again, thank you so much, everyone. Bye for now.